Hey guys, this is a movie about a bunch of youths who throw a kickback to look cool in front of a bunch of people who will forget their names and faces in a year. It's called Plan W, and it's pretty trash. You guys have been asking me to go over this movie for months now, and I've been holding it off because a quick trip to Wikipedia told me that this movie is considered lame by most of the critics who watched it. But for a minute now, I've been getting so many comments asking me to do this, and also, it looks like the general audience seems to think this movie was lit, so I figured, hey, maybe this is like that comedian movie from last year that's actually heat, but critics crapped all over it because they were off one. But nah, this was actually deserving of his low ratings. So the movie starts out in the same form as the other movie I went over, which already kind of pisses me off because I'm trying to watch the film on a stable angle, but it's not that big a deal, so we can move past that. Talking about how this year will be the stuff of legend because they have something planned, but then he almost gets discovered by the ally's mother, but I guess her IQ isn't high enough to not be deceived by the tryhard, and he makes us some excuse as to why he was talking some sus terms only a couple seconds ago. Then he pulls up to the main character while he's showering and sabotages his toothbrush because you know he's a tryhard loser. Then the main character gets in his feelings over his own choice and comrades, so I can't say I feel too bad for him. It's not that the main character is turning 17 and his parents are going to be MIA for the weekend, so the tryhards trying to get lit so that they can all get their tips wet, but the main character's dad tries to dead all that before it even happens because he tells them not to get more than a couple niggas at the crib while they're gone, as to not be in any of the important rooms or whips. While the guys are off doing something else, the cameraman decides to invade the parents' privacy, and he finds the dad's talking wild about him, calling him a lame who isn't about it. So the main character does what he needs to and gets his mom's played out van as a gift, which puts the tryhard in his feelings because he knows that niggas won't be big upping him for whooping around in it, but he doesn't even have any room to talk because it's not like he has anything to drive at all. They meet up with the fourth member of their weirdo alliance, and it's some fat kid. It turns out they're nobodies at school who get disrespected on a constant basis by everyone else. Like there's a scene where the main character is waiting in front of his locker because some op-ass popular kid is there, and he just stays to hold the main character. Like movies keep doing stuff like this, and I know guys get bullied in real life, but it usually doesn't come like this. Like yeah, there's always gonna be some guys that do the most and make people want to turn them to a pack, but usually they're not the popular kids like all these teen movies make them out to be. I mean, don't get me wrong, the popular kids are subhumans too, but they're not out shoving kids in lockers, you know. But anyway, the tryhard is still tweaking over the kickback they're supposed to have, and is trying to do everything in his power to make sure the entire world is there, but the main character is still thinking locally, but eventually he gives in and just lets the tryhard be the director. Also in some scene, the main character gets his get back from earlier and does the tryhard dirty in the bathroom. It was deserved, but I also don't care about any of them, so it didn't really hit like it was supposed to. So the cameraman hides behind the bleachers to see the main character, to talk to his stereotypical token main female friend that will play a role in the movie later on, and I guess they've been homies for a minute or something. Then the guys go around telling niggas to go to the party, and the tryhard continues to make himself look worthless, but they get the main character to ask the stereotypical most attractive female in the school if she wants to party at his crib. Once again, in most schools there isn't just one baddest toe, you know, there's like a whole coalition of them. I don't know if either the guys who wrote these movies don't remember being in high school, which if that were the case I wouldn't blame them, it was pretty ass, or if they were just writing these films for niggas who don't know what high school's actually like, because the real ones know what's up. Then they go to the store to get some stuff for the kickback, and they see some guy who's famous for doing something, and also he's buying a lot of the brown, so they ask him if he can swoop by, but he gives them the classic "I'm busy with something" excuse that niggas give when they're not trying to chill with you. But it's not he's serious because he's trying to go to the kickback that they're throwing, so I guess it all worked out in the end. Then they go to some degenerate's crib to get mind altering substances, and the three of them are good to go, but they make the cameraman stay back because I guess he doesn't want any proof of his wrongdoings coming back against him. But while the cameraman is filming the inside of his house, the guy gets up to leave while the tryhard does the absolute most as usual and takes his gnome and starts humping it and gives it to the cameraman to finesse. So Curran is placed so far as the most useless and unlikable character in the movie. What were they thinking by putting this fucking nigga in the film? Like he's not funny, interesting, or cool. They really thought he was gonna be the new Jonah Hill or something, but what they didn't realize was that he kept getting shitted on the entire movie, so the viewers had no choice but to be on his side. Anyway, they try to vacate the premises, but eventually the degenerate finds out they finessed him, and he gets on their ass for it. He ends up damaging the whip, so that's an L, but they manage to get him off, so they're just chilling. After discussing some more pointless topics, it's not he's back for more, so once again they have to get him out of the way, and they can proceed back to the crib. So when they're back to where they're supposed to be, it's one of the tryhard hired two fetuses who are almost as annoying as him for security, and also two youths from the school ask if they can come to the kickback, but the tryhard tells them that they're banned because their presence would decrease the property value. Then the tryhard and the fat kid go door to door to each of the neighbors' houses and talk nice to them about the kickback they're throwing, because they're not trying to run to any G out along the way from any of them. And it looks like this approach is successful. They all get back inside the crib, and it looks like the tryhard is really living up to his title because he bought a bouncy castle and put up signs that the thighs are only allowed in the pool if they're naked. And the main character tells him that he's not trying to have any of the invaders inside of the crib, so the tryhard assures him that the bum security hired on their case. Then they step back inside, and it looks like the fat kid picked out of all times to look in shape, but it's too late, and the tryhard does him dirty by making him fall. Now that all the buildup is out of the way, we're finally at the time where the kickback is supposed to start, and all the main guys are just chilling there. So the main character gets in his feelings because he thinks that everyone else just bailed out on him, but then a whole bunch of wisps pull up to the location, and it looks like the niggas came through, pulling the baddest hoe in the entire school. So the main character is feeling lit, so niggas are vibing, you know, doing whatever they do at parties. I mean, what would I know? I spent my entire life behind a computer screen, and they just do the most in general. And I even put the main character's dog in a balloon and watch it float to the sun, so the main character has to swoop in and stop their wicked plot before it goes too far. And they decide to hide the dog inside the crib, who the ops can't get to it. But it looks like the security is truly worthless because there are already niggas inside the crib, so this is gonna be like like an actual problem. When the main character gets himself the guys inside to piss off, he gets possessed by peer pressure because all the guys in the room start big-upping him before he even gets a chance to speak, including the bad hoe. As to make matters worse, that guy they saw in the store pulls through with a whole host of higher class people. The main character has to get down and let things happen. Eventually, one of the neighbors comes through whining because they're making too much noise, so he tells the main character that it's up with the kickback. So the trier comes through to tell him that it's not gonna happen, but then one of the security guys decides to do the most and tase him, which makes him hoe him. But then they tell the neighbor that they got video of him assaulting a child on tape, but the trier isn't done yet, so he tells the security guy that got hoed to follow him to his crib to see if he does anything in the future to try to ruin their party. Then there's some scene where the trier and the main character go to the pool and are accompanied by a bunch of other people there or something, just more footage to stretch out the movie's runtime. Also, the fat guy's inside the room talking to someone of the opposite gender, and she's an alcoholic. So the fat guy tries to make himself look cool by using the same techniques as her, but he just ends up embarrassing himself. Then the guys go to the main character's parents' room where they decide to disrespect them while they're away, so that's whatever. After this, the main character meets up with the bad hoe as she shows him some new acts of debauchery that he's not familiar with, but it gets his tip up either way, so W for him. Before he can continue, the trier tells him that his dad's on the other line, trying to figure out what's going on, but the main character is able to conceal what he's doing, so it all works out, I guess. Then the trier gets a call from one of the security guys, and it looks like he actually invaded the neighbor's crib and is in too deep, and tells the trier that the neighbor's calling 12 on them. Also, some old man trying to chill at the party while the female friend is there, so understandably, everyone else there just treats him with the utmost disrespect. After this, the female friend meets up with the main character in one of the rooms, and they talk about whatever. Then he starts to get on her, because I guess he actually cares about her like that. Just like literally anybody watching this movie could have predicted what happened as soon as she first appeared. But then the main character gets the news that 12 is on the way, so he and the tryhard get everyone to go in the backyard while 12 comes through so there's no noise. Then they refuse to let 12 inside because they know their rights, so the cops are mad they can't engage in another classic act of misconduct. With the op neighbor's plot foiled, the guys can continue their party and have a gay old time. But now niggas are really tweaking and start doing whatever they can to damage the main character's property, and then they break that gnome that was stolen from the degenerates, and as soon as it was full of stuff to get off on, which they do. Now the main character is really in his feelings and tries to record a message for his parents, but the bum-ass tryhard lets him know that the reason the party is so wild is because he put it on the internet, so all the world can know about it. Eventually he gets him to calm down and get off one with the same substance as the other guys in the kickback. Also, some dwarf is doing too much in the kitchen, so niggas put him in the oven, and when the tryhard finds out, he goes to rescue him, but his kindness is repaid with assault to the scrotum, along with the fat guys and everyone else in the vicinity, because the dwarf is an op. Then the guys all chill out together and start feeling themselves, and the tryhard starts being less annoying from this part of the movie onwards. After this, the main character and the bad hoe are about to penetrate each other, but then the female friend catches them and leaves the kickback because the main character just did her dirty, and the bad hoe gets on when the security guys asked for filming her. So by now the entire party has gone too far, and eventually the guys got on the roof where you see helicopters, while the main character acts in defiance and jumps in the bouncy castle. The fat kid follows suit, but just ends up busting his ass, so he needs a cast afterwards. But then the main character's dad's whip gets driven into the pool by the useless dwarf, and at this point he's alive for no reason, and the lamest character in the entire movie, and the tryhard lets the main character know that he can't actually fix any of this, so all hope is lost. So 12 swoops in to put a stop to all of this, and to make matters worse, that degenerate from earlier is back torching shit, but he ends up burning himself, so I guess that takes care of that. With the whole neighborhood trash now, the guy taking the opportunity to escape. At the end of the day, they'll train somewhere, and those security kids are planning to burn the neighbor who snitched on them's house because they're psychos, so the triad of all people tells them to chill out. Then the guys all go their separate ways back to the crib. After this, the father's back to assess the damages, while the main character keeps saying sorry, and while the dad isn't happy about all his stuff getting ruined, he's glad to know that his son isn't a complete pussy, so that's cool I guess. When the main character gets back to school, we see that his whip has been damaged beyond repair, and the triad tells him that they may all be facing charges, but that's all okay. The movie ends with whatever happened to them after all this being told, and the triad letting some newswomen know that there's gonna be yet another kickback. Overall, this movie was ass. I mean, parts of it were okay, I guess, but I really don't care if any of you watch it or not. The moral of the story is don't listen to niggas who always do the most, because they'll probably end up getting you caught up. Okay guys, make sure that when you subscribe you hit the notification button, because that lets you know whenever I make a new video, and as always, thanks for watching.